Alright guys, welcome back. CFP here, and this is Survival Living. I got a big bird up in the sky. Anyway, came on, let everybody know I'm going to be taking a few days off. I've gotten sick. Man, that's a lot of birds. I don't know. Anyway, I've gotten sick. Don't worry, I don't have the coof. I suffer from bronchiolitis. I get it every year. I was born with asthma real bad as a kid and turned into bronchiolitis the more I got older. So I'm dealing with that right now. This is one of the reasons why our 7-day camp out trip that we did last week was cut short. My wife had gotten sick and she had notified me that she was pretty bad off, so that's why we cut that trip short, and that's why I head home. Turns out I wound up contracting the same junk, so mine went down in my tubes, just the way it is. So right fast guys, news, things like that. There's an oil slick off the coast of California. I think it's off of Huntington. I forgot how many barrels it was. It's not as severe as the one in 2000, well, earlier this year. Actually, earlier this year they had a really bad one. So they've had that. I've been reviewing that because I had somebody ask me what's coming next. Well, there you go. This oil slick was because of a leaking pipe about 4 miles off the coast. It really shouldn't affect the price of fuel. It comes from a smaller company. I think their net worth was like 157 million is actually what they do a year. So our fuel prices should be okay. But there's just another thing right there. I mean, what if it was a larger one? Keep fuel on hand. I know it's hard to keep a lot of fuel on hand. You got to check your zoning laws and things like that, guys. I mean, you don't want to get hemmed up and fined because you've got storage of fuel on hand. I was out in Oregon, and I was living outside of Salem, like going towards Silverton. My house that burned down out there. A neighbor kind of crossed the ways from me. They did biodiesel. That's what they manufactured. It was his own business and everything. Late one night, I was smelling plastic burning. Couldn't figure out what it was. So, of course, I'm checking the house out. Stepped outside, just a blaze. His whole facility caught fire and burned down. So, even though he was legally able to manufacture biodiesel where he was at, all it takes is something happen and then everything ignites. So, you know, be careful storing fuel. We cycle our fuel. We have fuel for our generators. We have fuel for our vehicle. We just cycle through all the time. It's up to you on how much you're going to have. Sure, there's many different ways of generating power without gasoline. Absolutely, I'm all for that. If you're on a budget, you're on a budget. Trust me, I get that. So, like I showed the gasoline generators for power. It's one of the simplest ways to do it. It's one of the cheapest ways to do it. So, something you should check into, especially if you have room for a generator. Now, I've seen the comments, well, I live in an apartment. I get that. I mean, we showed solar generators and stuff like that. Solar generator, run outside during the daytime, charge it up, bring it inside. You can run that all day long inside your home, be just fine. So it's entirely up to you. I mean, when we went through a hurricane, there should be a pop-up somewhere up here. I filmed that before I ever became a YouTuber. I was outside charging up our phones and everything else right there in the parking lot. I was living out of a motel while I was working in Apopka, Florida. I mean, I was working in Orlando. That's the job I got hurt on. So yeah, when that hurricane came through, we were out of power for like 10 days. Every day I was down there charging up our systems right there in the parking lot and took all my battery equipment right back inside. So, you know, it is possible. Do you have to do stuff? Absolutely. Do you need security? Well, of course. Just depends on where you live at. If you're living in a real urban populated area that has a lot of crime, I'm not saying all they all do. I'm saying if you live in one like that, yeah, you better be packing, protecting your stuff while you're charging up. You're going to be there hours charging up your stuff. Does it suck having to stand guard on your solar generator and charging? Sure. You can come up with creative ideas on how to store panels and stuff like that. But like I showed, I mean, we had a hurricane. We were living in a freaking motel, but I was still able to produce power. I still was able to run a light. Excuse me. I was still able to produce some form of power. So guys, there are ways. Doesn't mean you have to do something. Absolutely. Survival is not given to you. Survival means you have to be doing something. Survival is not easy. Now we can make steps of procuring a lot of stuff and makes the transition for these things much easier on you, but you still got to be doing something. Just like we've been doing the outdoor survival videos. I'm all for hitting the woods in a bug out situation, but I know my skills, I know my areas, I know where I'm going. I'm not just running out to the woods to go live. I'm going to a destination. It's one of the reasons why we've been showing this type of stuff on our channel, to show you, bust that little fantasy world bubble. It is hard. Sometimes there's no game around. Sometimes you're living off of minnows, lizards, frog legs. Is that enough nutrition? Well, it just depends on what your catch is. So guys, that's one of the reasons why we show this. I do believe everybody needs to know outdoor survival, but I'm not saying go run to the woods. Prep now. Get your food, get your water filter, get your water collection systems set up. All right. Move to alternative power. If you're planning on having, you got equipment that you need to run, all right, medical equipment, have a way of powering those things up. A gasoline generator is one of the cheapest, easiest ways to do. You can store fuel. Solar generators, another thing, the portable solar panel systems that we've been showing. Another way. Those things aren't cheap. They're not. I mean, I've shown those. They're not cheap. Do they work? Yes, they do. Having your own solar grid. And I don't mean that thing back there. No. I'm talking about 500-600 watts sitting on a trailer somewhere. You know, something small. It's still going to charge up your battery banks. Our system, we got 800 watts on our trailer. We've got so many large batteries in our battery banks. We live off of ours every day. So it is possible to do it small and on a budget. You just buy piece by piece. All right, you're buying a panel, a 100-watt panel for 80 bucks. That's freaking awesome. That's the route I went. My batteries run me about 160. I think I paid 150 at the time. I think like 160 now a piece for a 100 amp hour battery. Are there bigger ones? Yeah. Are there better ones? Sure. But that's how I built my system. I'm going to get 7 years, give or take, on those systems. Okay? They don't last forever, but they do last a very long time. Anyway, guys, like I said, I'm going to take some time off just to get better. If I see stuff, I'll post it in the community board or on our Twitter or over there on Facebook. That, by the way, went down today globally. My wife was trying to get on it because she's got some friends and stuff. She has her own company, and she was trying to log into her Facebook account for her Cincy. It couldn't. She's trying to figure out why, and I'm looking. I'm like, yeah, it's down. It's down globally. All the major spots had it. Paris, Washington, D.C., all over. I don't know if they ever fixed it, but it's what it is. No surprise, right? All right, guys. Y'all take care. Speak to y'all later.